right, so we have to tier rank the teams. Is that what's requested first? NFL tier list. Let's do it. Since I'm putting off doing Madden stuff, right? We have Super Bowl contenders, playoff team, potential wildcards, missing playoffs, mediocre at best, young but intriguing, and I would pick contention. Looks like we're starting in the NFC South with the Saints. The Saints, like, bro, remember when we thought the Saints were like the best one? Let's talk about the Saints. Nolans. It'll be interesting to see how badly hurt is Carr. Saints cook now Devontae's not going because Carr is gone. Does this mean we're getting a Rattler season? All right, I think the Saints are fine. What would you say is the weakest division in the NFL? It's still the Souths, right? I think the Saints, I'm going to put them at potential wild card spot. I think just so much is up in the air. That's a tough one. I'm going to put them in potential wild. I'm just going potential wild card because I don't know what the health of their offense is or anything. Dolphins, I mean, how far are we away from Tua coming back? I'm going to have to say Dolphins miss the playoffs just because Tua could be back and like, I feel like I should have Bengal on this. Bengal, you want to join me and talk about these teams with me? It might be more exciting for the people to hear expert. Bears win, I win. It is insane how much of our mental health is tied up upon a team that we all chose when we were like 8 years old. Or like our parents forced this upon us for a lot of people. I only show my family love. I love them if the Packers win. Colts lose to a winless team, Sag, and especially being a division rival. How the fuck did the Steelers lose to the Colts then? The Steelers keep running this. I've already mentioned it once. This soft zone bullshit. It's like, oh, let's just rush 4 and play like the easiest to see soft zone, drop zone defense ever, and like watch the opponents take advantage of all the holes. Or like when we go to something else, just watch them dunk on Beanie Bishop. I don't get how they don't understand how to counter the chips that TJ's getting. Send a blitz there. Take a fucking tip from Brian Flores. Dog. They're so poorly coached on both offense and defense. It's insane. Hey, what's up? Bengal.
I've been here for a minute.
Oh, have you really? Oh,
sorry. Yeah, I was going to say soft zone. Sounds like me with a lady.
Let's get back to tier ranking this stuff. Let's do it. I put the Saints up as potential wild cards. What's your feelings on the Carr?
Yeah, I think potential wild cards is in a good spot. I mean, the Saints are not elite like they appeared to be against the Panthers, but they're pretty good. They're like good enough, right? Like they played not their best against the best team in the league, maybe yesterday.
Yeah.
I think could that have been a playoff game last night where the Chiefs win by, like 2 possessions and you go, all right, on to the next round? I obviously they don't play in the same conference, but it seems like they're a potential wild card.
Yeah, I like it. And what do you feel about like the overall strength of the South? Because I said the Souths are the weaker divisions this year. Like, how would you rank the divisions in strength?
No, I think you have it there.
Nice.
I think the AFC South might be worse than the NFC South this year. The Texans are obviously quite good, but the Jags suck. The Titans suck. The Colts are, I don't know. And then like the Bucs, I think, are actually somewhat good. The Saints are somewhat good. The Panthers with Andy Dalton, I mean, they definitely suck, but they're better than they were with Bryce Young. And their Falcons are okay.
I'll talk about.
I think the
Panthers.
AFC South is the worst, right?
I want to talk about the Panthers when we get there because like the Bryce Young discussion's fascinating to me. But so I think Saints potential wildcard. I'll agree with you there. So Dolphins, I got them at missing the playoffs. How's Tua looking? Have you heard anything about him?
Not really. I think it's kind of the same timeline of maybe he's going to miss a month. I mean, the Dolphins are horrendous.
Yeah.
I mean, this is probably, and I want to know what everyone else thinks about this. Is this the least physical team in the league? And it feels like a year where you have to be more physical than ever with teams running the ball the way they are now. This is a sad team to watch, dude.
You know what's funny is usually we like see this kind of like physicality and stuff play out. Like, the thing about the Dolphins where they couldn't win in November, December, that kind of, they always were losing stuff. It seems like this part of the year was always like, here's the high flying offenses. Let's get some dots in. And I think like what we saw to start the year was like because of the lack of like preseason training camp, they've like cut back on practices and stuff. We saw a lot of sloppy offense, and the Dolphins, they were Tua, you can't really separate those two things. But now offenses like we saw are starting to click a little better. We got some more points in fantasy this week. So the Dolphins during this part of the schedule, which they should be cooking, they don't seem to be doing that well, which is highly concerning. But obvious reasons why. And like here's where like how we had a discussion, you and I feel like this was like 3 or 4 years ago, where I asked the question, would you rather have the best offensive line in the league or the best wide receiver core? And you said wide receiver core. I said offensive line.
I don't think that's accurate at all.
What did we say? What was the question?
I definitely don't remember this conversation. I would never have said receiving core. Everything starts in the trenches. I've had that opinion for a very long time.
There's no way you're coming on here and slandering the stream. We got receipts somewhere.
Oh, bring them up. I'd be happy to be wrong, but I can't imagine me ever saying best receiving core.
No, this was the like that conversation, I believe, was the start of this chat hates me mentality for Bengal, because we had like theoreticals. Like I said, would you rather have like I don't know who the best was, the Cowboys at the time. I don't remember the best offensive line in the league or the best receiver core, and it was split. Chat was generally on my side, but they're biased because I put a gun to their head to be on my side.
I will tell you, one, I don't remember this, but two, I do find it hard to believe.
Really?
I don't know if it's weird that I would forget a conversation from 3 years ago, but I do find it. I definitely don't have that opinion now, and I don't think I have for a while.
Okay.
So if I ever have, I just never really been a big wide receiver guy. I don't know.
Huh?
I can't fathom this, but
see, I don't know if you're pulling a bit on me or not, but I get it.
There's no bit.
Okay.
There's no bit. I know you're like a lady in the fact you remember arguments from years ago to bring them back up. But
wow.
I don't have any recollection of this whatsoever.
Wow. Well, okay, next on the cancel list, Bengal. Misogyny, huh? Just add it to the list of charges. All right, anyways. Moving on. The Ravens. They're next on our list. What do we got here? Wait, why did it get all shifted? This is weird. Oh, unpin? Oh, that's kind of cool. All right, so the Ravens, I'm going to go still in Subo contender. Now, are you worried at all about them, or they back on track after starting the year slow?
No, they're very good. I mean, I think people tend to forget that. I mean, it's the NFL. It's not like you're going to see lopsided victories every single week. Sometimes the best team in the league can only beat the worst team in the league by, a touchdown or maybe even lose on a given day. I don't think it means they're a bad team because you lose to someone that's worse than you in a week. Their defense could be better for sure, but when that offense is clicking, I mean, they're unstoppable. And the fact that they're leaning into the run now with Derrick Henry, I think it really is just another element to their offense where they're actually the power run team that we've wanted them to be for years now. I think they're quite good.
Well, 2 points I got right here. Like, what you said any given Sunday. As a Giants fan, you know that because, like, that's how you guys win Super Bowls is, like, randomly winning in the playoffs times. And then, like, secondly, what are your feelings on the Ravens' offensive line? Like, aren't they kind of, like...
So bad, especially the right side. They have no idea what to do at right tackle or right guard, it seems. Like, Daniel Faalele is horrendous, and Roger Rosengarten's got... I mean, he's a rookie, right? Second-round pick out of Washington. He's struggled, for sure. The left side is pretty good, including the center. If everyone can stay healthy, I think they're going to be able to do enough to get by. But, I mean, we know Ronnie Stanley really can't be relied upon.
Yeah. I mean, like, that's the issue, like, evaluating teams, like, what we talk about with the Dolphins. Like, one injury, your entire season's almost cooked, right? Lamar takes, like, a bad hit and has to go down for a while. Like, they're looking a lot different than Super Bowl contenders. That's part of the NFL joyride, ain't it?
Yeah, I don't think if we're going to rank teams, I don't think we can do it based on potential injuries.
Yeah, obviously not. Obviously. Okay, so Bengals up next. I'm going to put them as a playoff team. Do you think they should be higher or lower?
It's so weird because I think the Bengals record could be a lot better than it is right now. But I don't know. I feel like I still have a bad taste in my mouth from them losing to the Patriots in week 1, but whatever, that was weird. Their defense is really, really bad, I would say, especially on the interior defensive line. Now, the one thing I will say is that I don't know how many teams start 1-4 and come back to make the playoffs. I think I could agree potential wild card, but I might even lean towards missing playoffs here. The only reason that I might opt against that is that, okay, their offense can be elite if Joe Burrow's, cooking, and sometimes a great offense is enough to combat a terrible defense.
Yeah.
But I don't know. The 1-4 start is not good, but I think they could be a potential wild card team. I think they could sneak in.
Yeah, this is tough because like if we project like the Ravens or the Steelers to make the win the conference or division, I mean, then they have to be a wild card, potential wild card. I'll just throw them there. I agree with that. Like, I know there's like a stat out there about like 1 in 4 teams not making the playoffs or whatever, but a lot of that's just due to like, you know, previous years. We got extra playoff teams now, so the Bengals could go on a run, but it is looking rough for Cincinnati right now. And I'm generally agreeing with you, but yeah, Burrow, their team with and without him is two completely different ones. All right, Broncos up next. I don't know, man. I can't put them on the young and intriguing. Mediocre at best or I think I have a specific team I have for the number 1 pick contention. I'm just gonna put one team at number 1 pick and one team at Super Bowl favorites. So I'm gonna go Broncos mediocre at best.
I don't know. I think their defense is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And I think that can be enough. I would put them into missing playoffs. If the Broncos and the Dolphins were to go head to head, you know, I don't think I'm confident that the Dolphins would, you know, easily beat them or whatever. I don't know how we're officially ranking this, but
yeah.
I know last year the Broncos got housed, but this is a different year. You know, their defense has played really well, and they haven't played many elite offenses yet. But the fact that they held the Bucs to only a touchdown, I think, is fairly impressive. And then the Jets, we know, are terrible right now. But I think missing playoffs maybe.
Yeah, it's like the Steelers played.
Which I'm not sure I agree with the titling of these categories, because mediocre at best is like, that's kind of where I feel about these teams. But missing playoffs is an upgrade. Feels weird. But I don't know. There are a lot of categories for no reason, I would say.
I will agree with you on that. But this is just a random tier list I found. Should we get rid of the mediocre at best label?
I think you can just delete that one.
Okay.
And or maybe even take out, I don't know, young but intriguing. Like, who am I really going to put there? I don't know. I mean, I think just have bad or like, I don't know. I have no idea.
Hey man, you're the one that likes young but intriguing, picking up 17-year-olds in the fantasy baseball league.
Now you're saying that in a weird way.
All right, we're deleting young but intriguing.
And I learned all those from you. You could almost say you groomed me into those tendencies.
Hang on a second. Wait, I caught that.
Play that game, buddy.
Uh-huh. All right, let's rank your New York Giants. I'll let you go ahead and rank them before I jump ahead.
I would have had them in mediocre at best in that level. I think I would upgrade them now to missing playoff teams, because they looked very good against Seattle, who I thought was actually a pretty good team based on what we had seen. Now, I know they were dealing with some injuries, but I think Seattle's pretty good. And if you watch the game, yes, the Giants made it close because they're a bad football team, but they mostly dominated the entire game. They looked amazing.
Really?
Their defense, they looked amazing. Their defense was unbelievable in that game. Like the pass rush that we were also promised with Dexter Lawrence and Kayvon Thibodeau, and especially Brian Burns, really came to play. The Giants had 7 sacks, if I recall, on Sunday. And their offense, outside of a disaster fumble on the goal line and a 3-and-out, they were basically unstoppable. They could have beat Seattle by a lot. When you fumble on the goal line and it's returned for a touchdown, that's a 14-point swing. And it was like maybe even a touchdown for the Giants. They ended up winning with a blocked field goal return for a touchdown. But no, they looked amazing. Like, this is honestly probably the best the Giants have played in a few years. I mean, since the playoff season, really. And they kind of squeaked in. This was maybe the best they've looked in a long time. And they have one of the best pass rushes in the league statistically, which is bizarre.
It feels good, don't it? Right? Like that's how you've been successful the last 20 years. Well, I mean, even longer than that. Let's go back to LT days.
Yeah.
So New York is back to New York ball there for the Giants. And Danny Dimes is playing respectfully too.
He looked pretty good. Like I didn't really have anything negative to say. He played quite well.
So
other than he fumbled on the first play of the game and they lost 15 yards. But other than that, wow, that guy can play.
Yeah, like so Dayball's coaching is finally happy. Like, I feel like a lot of people in New York want him to be gone, but I feel like he gets picked up pretty soon if he's cut. No,
I don't know that it's a him problem. I feel like the talent has been in a bad spot. He wasn't calling plays either before this year. He's calling plays again. And to be fair, it's been one game. It's been one game where they've really actually looked very good. But I'll take it. I haven't had any type of a positive feeling about this team in years. So I don't know. It's too early to say anything one way or another, but you know, if you somehow don't lose the game to the Commanders where you don't let them score a touchdown and they still beat you, like, you know, that we're thinking very differently about the Giants right now, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, like, the Commanders, like, they got a lot of respect now, right? They've really shown out.
Now, who have they beaten, though, is a genuine question.
Yeah. But, like...
Giants, the Bengals, who might suck, the Cardinals, and now the Browns. But still, no, the Commanders look great.
Yeah, it's still professional.
But they also haven't
teams,
played
guys
anybody.
Making millions they're beating. So, I mean, you can
no
only
question.
beat the guys in your schedule, which is, like, you know, you're right. You are right. But...
and you know this better than anybody with early season success as a Steelers fan. Doesn't necessarily mean anything depending on who you play.
Are you 2020 posting? Hey, we got screwed by the NFL. That Wednesday game against Baltimore that injured our second best pass rusher, ruined our defense. I'm not standing for it, okay? Or are you saying we went 3-0 this year and now we're exposed as frauds?
I am going back to, like, what was it, 7-0 start?
I think it was like 11-0 actually.
Did they really win that many? That was crazy.
Yeah, and then they lost Dupree, and then they got just, you know, shit on the rest of the season basically. Vikings up next. Now this is crazy. Is like a lot of people, I myself included, did not think the Vikings were gonna be this good this year. Obviously they have good coaching, and that's basically what they're surviving on. Because like, when you look at their talent, right? They got Van Ginkel playing like a defensive player of the year. Like, this is how, like, you know when they say in Madden, scheme over team, and now we're seeing
He's been a good player though. He was good in Miami.
I know.
There's a reason he got paid.
Yeah,
and he looks a lot like the logo. Come to think of it, maybe he's reaching another level now that he's playing with them.
You should just get an entire team that matches the logo. What like are we just gonna get a bunch of Sarah Jessica Parkers for the Broncos?
Ooh, that's a very misogynistic comment from you, Fox.
I knew you were gonna bring some shit back like that.
What? What did I say?
No, the misogynistic thing again. Like you made it earlier, and I called it out. No, you're calling me out. That's fair. That's fair.
Well,
right.
I think that might have been you. I don't think I would have said anything like that at all.
Run the tapes. We got evidence, but it doesn't matter. Are we gonna put the Vikings in Super Bowl contention? Because, like, okay, I got a question. The Vikings are running a really cool, like, match. Capavelli, appreciate the sub. Really cool match style, like a hard blitzing scheme. But, like, it feels a lot like similar years. Like, remember Dolphins where nobody could stop their cheat motion last year? And then, like, everybody started running cheat motion and the defense adjusted. The same thing with, like we've seen in the past. Like, Wildcat became, like, a killer for years. Cover 2 was, like, the off-season boogeyman with Mel Kiper. Like, how soon until, because in Madden, we all figure out these, you know, heavy blitz match styles defenses, and then we start to move the ball. How long can Flores' unique defensive stylings keep it going before offensive coordinators figure out the keys to beating it?
You know, I think that's an interesting thing, and I really like what So Fresh, So Clean said in the comments about defense is different than offense, because, so, like, defensively, it's all about disguising things, right? So you think about some of the great defensive coordinators over the last, 20 or so years. It's all about how you disguise coverage and how you don't let the quarterback know what's happening in advance. You look like Mike Zimmer's been one of the best to do it. Steve Spagnuolo, Lou Anarumo, right? Some of these guys are so great at disguising things and sending exotic looks and different pressures. And offenses always have a tough time with those because you don't know exactly what you're expecting. On the other side of the ball, you look at how amazing were the Rams in that first Sean McVay year where they made it all the way to the Super Bowl, and then Bill Belichick figured out how to stop that. And then the next year, suddenly Sean McVay's cheat code on offense of creating space over the middle completely goes away because they know how to stop the outside zone runs. So I would say that it's a lot different for defense than it is for offense. Once the kind of the formula is out there on how to stop the offense, the defenses can just copy paste, right? But you can't necessarily do that against the defense because you don't know exactly what you're going to get on a down-to-down basis.
So why is it why is it that recently, the traditional model has been defense wins championships, right? Until recently when it's like, oh yeah, you got to have the best offense to win the Super Bowl. So why hasn't, like, it's not like the sky's pressures are new. I mean, Belichick and like you've been seeing this,
But some do it better than others, I would say, is my point.
Wait, say that again?
I would say some do it better than others is my point. And you got to have the personnel too. And the stuff has to line up properly in order to have that like super top level of success.
Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely agree. Like, and so like a lot of this stuff, a lot of this disguise stuff, frequently you'll see teams just beat it just by running down his throat. Like if you have a guy out of position and you can run like a downhill A gap style fullback dive type not a offense, that's going to be hard for the Vikings to stop. But like, so that's the thing is like they're doing a really good job on their run blitzes, getting through gaps, slicing through, making tackles, shedding blocks. But like, you're right. Traditionally, you beat these things by running directly at its face, but if they're actually also good run stopping, then that's kind of where you run into the issues on offense of like, hey, we can't attack it on the run. They're disguising and confuse our quarterback on the pass. We only have one option. Let's chuck it deep to our insert insanely good receiver, right? That's kind of like the counter. So like, how many teams have a receiver that can just dunk on a Vikings cornerback? There's 10 teams probably. How many teams do you think have that? Like, the Giants now got Neighbors, but you also have a quarterback. You got to pick up the pressure and get the quarterback the ball down the field accurately. So I don't know. It's you're right. An insanely good scheme, and I think what's going to happen, or at least I assume, is every other team is going to start copying the Vikings, right?
It'll probably move that direction. I don't know when that change would would come into effect. It's tough because some of these DCs just feel comfortable doing what they've been doing for years. And this is my scheme. This is what I do. Yeah. Some guys just don't make adjustments. And we see, teams get picked apart. Look at Green Bay, right? Where, consistently you'd seen these corners on third and short playing 10, 12 yards off the line for some reason, just giving them free first downs, or blitzing and still keeping your corners back. Yeah. Forcing the quarterback to get rid of the ball quickly, but hey, there's a ton of space on the outside because the corners are 10 yards off the ball for some reason. And they just would consistently do this and do this and do this and do this. And you're like, how are you not making the adjustment that everyone is saying you should make? And it's obvious, it makes sense, but I don't know. It's like, what can you even answer to say, when is this change going to come into effect? I don't know, but the Vikings seem pretty legit, and the NFC is just not that good, I would say. So how are the Vikings like not anything but Super Bowl contenders right now? Just because their defense is elite, the offense is played, near an elite level. They're getting the most out of Sam Darnold with Kevin O'Connell, that's for sure. So this is a team that feels like one of the favorites right now in the NFC. Obviously, they're 5-0, but I mean they're good.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Somebody says, "Oh, you can't just copy defenses. This isn't Madden." It's like, what? It's a copycat league. That's been said forever. So. That'll be interesting to play out this season and Flores' game plans and how they stand up, and I think that's going to be a very fascinating team to watch. All right, we're up to the Rams. The Rams, I'm going to go ahead and put as potential. I don't know. I'm going to go. What do you think about the Rams? How good do you think
Rams? More like the Rans because they've been ransacked by injuries. That's a bad one. No, I mean they're just. Injuries matter a lot, and they've had so many so far. We don't know about the status of Puka Nacua or Cooper Kupp long term, and those are pretty impactful playmakers for the offense. And Stafford's still pretty good, but
yeah,
he's not exactly playing at an MVP level. So I don't know. This is not a team that I really believe in. They're different without Aaron Donald. Yeah, it's hard to picture them doing anything but missing the playoffs at this point.
Yeah, and their secondary is not great either. So they got decent young pieces on the defensive line. I know Verse and
yep.
And my guy Fisk, this past draft.
For the rookies, Kobe Turner and Byron Young from a year before.
Yep, yeah. So, and trenches are everything. But we'll go missing playoffs for them. All right, Tampa Bay up next.
Losing Ernest Jones is an underrated loss for them. Probably he was a really really good player and a team captain. A super young guy that they just traded to Tennessee for a fifth and or maybe a 6th round pick swap, something weird.
What do you think happened there?
I have no idea. I've tried to look into it. No one really seems to know. Seems like maybe some preemptive contract talks. I'm not sure.
That could have been it. Yeah. Yeah, it's not a bad point. And it's not like he's doing that much better in Tennessee than they were doing for the Rams. So who knows what these things? That's personality clashes, right? And that's kind of the stuff we don't really see in the media, the behind the scenes. Tampa Bay, I don't know. They feel so up and down. Like they feel like almost, I wouldn't say the Colts, but they feel like very, like Baker's, his biggest struggle always was his reads, right? Like his ability, like that was, the OBJ exposing his dad, like, oh, I'm open. But like when you have a guy that you can lock onto called Mike Evans.
None of those matter. Like those in-game screenshots are so stupid.
Hey,
because you don't know the progression. You don't know the read.
They matter to me,
you don't know
damn
what
it.
the actual. That's a fair point.
It's real to me.
They have been really up and down though. Like how do you beat the Lions and then get blown out by the Broncos and then beat the Eagles and then lose the Falcons?
They're glass cannon. They're either like insanely good when he's connecting to his insanely good Hall of Fame level receiver, or they get shut down and he just misses a few because he's a huck it, chuck it, suck it type football player. So like potential wild cards, I'll put them in that category. I don't know if I necessarily believe in them, but I think by the end of the season, if I see them in the playoffs, I'm not surprised at all. I might even move them up a category, just because of the talent they have on both sides.
They've got a tough run coming up. Saints, Ravens, Falcons again, Chiefs, 49ers, and then the juggernaut Giants. That's tough. But that's like, I mean, we're going to have probably the Ravens and the Chiefs and the 49ers maybe all in that Super Bowl contender category. I know the 49ers have been tough this year, but those are some tough teams to beat.
Yeah, I agree. So we'll see how they come out. Maybe they get stronger for it. All right, next one. Detroit, the Lions. Like we've talked about, great offensive line. Receivers are solid. Goff is... I'm surprised. Goff's only 29. Like, it feels like he's been in the league forever. I think the trade kind of warped my perception around his age. But, like, bro, he's still in his 20s. He's got plenty of football left. I was like... Because I was looking at him for, like,
he
fantasy.
was in that Carson Wentz draft. He was... they were 1-2. Wasn't that 2016, maybe?
Yeah. It just feels so long ago to me. So, I'm going to put them in Super Bowl contenders. Any conflicts you got there?
No, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Because how many were we going to say Super Bowl contenders? Maybe 3 or 4 from each conference. I think they're one of the 3 or 4 best teams in the NFC.
Yeah. I'll say that. I was going to Super Bowl favorites. I was going to do one team in the whole league. Should we do one from each? One for both leagues? Anyways, I don't know.
We could. I mean, the Lions would be... it feels weird to say favorites, but I mean, they're in that conversation, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
It feels like Super Bowl contenders and favorites are basically like saying the same thing. Again, there are a lot of categories here
that run over top of each other. I'll agree. So we'll have to poop on whoever created this. It wasn't me. Okay, so Cubs. Yeah. Sorry, Cubs. Chicago Bears.
The Cubs missed the playoffs. You got to put them in miss the playoffs.
Got to put them down a level. You know what? Wait, hang on. Oh, we got rid of Young but Intriguing.
They would be, right?
Yeah.
But also Young but Intriguing was one of the worst ones on there. The Bears are better than one of the worst teams in the league. And think about it. When they got the number 1 overall pick, it's easy to say, oh, well, they're the worst team in the league. That was the Panthers pick. They picked, at what, number
9?
Number 7?
Oh, was it 7?
Number it was 9 with... It could have been. I think Odunze could have been 9th. It's 7, 8th, or 9th. I think 9th maybe. You might be right with that.
Yeah, because 8 was Penix to Atlanta.
But either way, end of the top 10 somewhere.
Yeah.
Chicago, not that awful.
I expect Chicago to I don't know. I don't really love their offensive coordinator. I don't love their interior offensive line, but I feel like they're one of the teams that might get better as the season goes along because they're got superstar young quarterback, superstar young receiver. They got a decent defense too. I want to say they're gonna miss the playoffs though, but I can see them in the wild card also.
Their defense has played great, and it's easy to say, oh, look at the way they played great last week, and it was the Panthers. But I don't know, they really did look pretty awesome
But yeah, I think we take that with a grain of salt. I would say, yeah, missing playoff teams. And I think the biggest reason maybe why is that you have the Vikings and Lions in division as well. And the Packers are decent too.
Yeah.
So it's just a tough road for them to get in.
That's definitely the division with the best quarterbacks on all teams, right?
Darnold, Goff, Caleb, and Love.
Yeah.
In the NFC or just overall?
I feel like overall, because like look at like we got Raiders in the West. Like I'm just saying, like all 4 teams. Obviously, they don't have like the number 1 quarterback in the NFL there, but I feel like throughout, like that's one of the division that I feel like every team has their quarterback situation solved for the foreseeable future, right?
Maybe. Well, I'm trying to think like right now. It feels kind of silly to take the NFC West, but Geno Smith, I think, is really, really solid, and
Purdy.
I like him a lot.
Yeah.
Kyler Murray's solid. We know Brock Purdy's been, regardless of how you felt about him as a prospect or a rookie or young player, he's been as productive as anyone in that offense. So at what point do you really start to value that? I mean, he's been very good. He's limited in some ways, but he does enough. So I don't know how to feel about it still. And then Stafford's good. So that's a thing. And then
would you rather
the AFC North would be there if they didn't have such a disaster with the Steelers and Browns, like really anybody else, and you'd feel great about that because you have Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow.
You can't. That's 50%. You can't count that.
I know. No, I know. I'm just saying. I'm saying literally like anybody else though. If they even had like middle of the pack, they'd be the clear and obvious choice. But it's bottom of the league.
Watson is dragging it down. Pittsburgh, we're totally fine. It's field season. Would you rather? Okay, I got a question. Do you like going forward, like this year, going forward? If your franchise got a choice, who would you rather have between Kyler and Purdy?
I'd probably take Kyler Murray because of the upside. I think situation agnostic. I would prefer Kyler Murray. I don't know that Brock Purdy's doing this with another team. I hate to keep doubting the guy, but he's not. I don't think he's a true elevator. I think he's there, and I think the Shanahan offense is so good, and he is so good in. He's a smart quarterback, right? And he's got great mobility in the pocket, truly does, but he's limited as a thrower, and I think that's a problem. But it hasn't been that big of a deal.
I mean,
they were in the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah, and I think he makes reads pretty well, pretty quick, and makes good decisions, which is hard to evaluate on film because we don't know the system. Like the fact that his receivers get separation, the fact that Brandon Ayuk, is such a great separator. He's got a great left tackle that the entire offense seems to fall apart when Williams goes down. So I would agree with you on the Kyler take just because you're right. Maybe in a different system, Kyler actually plays and Purdy, because Purdy, there's different schools of quarterbacking, right? There's the highly mobile type, the big, Burrow's not got the amazingest arm, but he's a great, reader of the defense. Same thing with Purdy. So
and there's a super valuable trait to getting the football out on time and on target. Making quick decisions is 90% of playing quarterback in the NFL. And maybe that percentage doesn't work out, but it's extremely valuable is my point. I think what is interesting though is Kyler Murray as good with the 49ers? I don't think he is, because his style of play, is as an improviser and someone that is an extender and, thrives in the chaos. And that's not necessarily the Shanahan offense. The Shanahan offense is, it's one of these classic, West Coast, get the football out, run the football. I don't know that that's his skill set. So I think, Purdy maybe is the perfect QB somehow for that 49ers team.
Yeah, it's wild how hard it is to evaluate from college to the pros and things like the mental processing ability, which is why they thought Stroud wasn't going to be good because his mental processing ability on that one test was bad. And to be fair, we're talking about Kyler this is pre-COD release, right? Now that he's sponsored by them, are the Cardinals doomed?
They had a good run, 2-3 this year. It's over.
We're gonna put them in missing playoff team. Is that okay, or you want them up a little bit?
I don't really think they move me one way or another. I don't know. Yeah, they're fine. They could not exist, and I wouldn't care really. I mean,
this is Arizona erasure.
I don't know, maybe.
But like,
well, I just don't. I don't know what to think about him. It's kind of like Robert Saleh getting fired today. It's like I don't really think it does anything. The Cardinals are one of those teams where, like, if they made the playoffs, I'd be like, all right, sure. And if they miss the playoffs, I'd be like, that makes sense also. I don't know. I think they've got some talent. They might be a year or two away. I still think they need to figure out what that defense is doing.
Yeah. That's the thing about the Cardinals. Like, they'll be so, like, they're so cool to watch when their offense is clicking, like, amazing plays and making Sports Center top 10 stuff with Kyler. But then, like, on a down-to-down basis, you're like, I don't know. So, like, it's so tantalizing to love the Cardinals because of their top-end offensive talent between him and Harrison, and they got a great tight end there, McBride. So it's so, like, I think I'm agreeing with you. I think maybe a year out still, but, man, they look so cool at times. And I feel like they're one of those teams that we could easily move up because they are just that exciting. But moving on to San Francisco, I'm going to put them in the Super Bowl contender category. You're right, they've had a rough go of it early on. But, man, I got faith still. I still do.
Yeah, I think it'd be like counting out the Chiefs. I know the Chiefs are 5-0, so it feels different. But, you know, it's just – this feels like one of those teams that will figure it out and just be good.
Yeah, they're too well coached with too much talent, I feel like, to not.
And they've had some injuries early in the year too. So I feel like you know, they get everybody back and healthy.
Yeah.
Get Debo in there with Ayuk and I mean, who knows about McCaffrey, but Jordan Mason's done a great job.
I agree. I mean, like, this is why
he's got some juice.
Yeah, all the analysts are like, you know, maybe shouldn't draft a running back high. I mean, I don't know. I really want to talk to you about Gianti and stuff. And like some of that, like, because like a guy that came in, like, nobody really knew about him except he's like a backup, didn't really get, you know, a lot of draft capital behind him, and now he comes in and he looks really good. And so, like, it's so hard to say, you know, CMC is an incredible playmaker, one of the greatest we've ever seen, but then, like, their offense and Mason still looks good regardless. So, like, where are these guys coming from? Like, is it truly worth a high draft capital, or just you just keep drafting running backs in like the later rounds until you find a guy with that juice?
I see. I feel like it's so easy to say that, oh, you can just find them down the board, and maybe it is easier at running back, right? But like, in a way, you can find anything down the board if you have an elite talent. I think regardless of the position, you know, there can be a ton of value there. And I feel like if you can get elite talent at running back, just because some teams get steals, and I know it happens more often with running back than any other position, right? But, you know, if you look at the top of the league, a lot of these guys aren't necessarily these underrated, you know, all the way down the board or undrafted players. Like, if you look at some of the most successful running backs over the past several years, it still is the first or second back off the board in a lot of cases, because it's your Christian McCaffreys, your Saquon Barkleys, Derrick Henry. Yeah, there are guys that come out of nowhere and are productive for a year or two, and that's great, but
like
you can
Aaron
still
Jones. Aaron Jones came late, but
yeah,
like,
that's a great example.
Like outside of, I would
but
say
you can do that with almost any position.
Well, okay.
Because at what point do you say, well, if you can find Brock Purdy down on the board, you know, why even take a quarterback high? I know that's like there are outliers, right? But
yeah,
I feel like if you can get an elite talent at running back, like, it can be worth it. Not always. They have to be an elite talent, but there are elevators to an offense for sure.
I think it's how easily it is to get one of them, right? How frequently like, if you think about edges, how many great edges outside of like Max Crosby come low in the draft? You don't feel like you get any great edges. Okay, Alex Highsmith, Herbig have done really well for the Steelers and their system and stuff, but it feels like that position, most of the best comes out the first round, whereas it feels like second round to, you know, seventh round Pacheco, you see a lot more running backs and the frequency of that happens. So, anyways, the Niners, though,
I also think it's with some of these teams. Like, it's easy to say with the 49ers, you can put anyone in there because, like, yeah, it's the 49ers. They have a great offensive line and a great system, right? But it's like, would Jordan Mason be doing this if he played for, you know, pick a team that isn't good? You know what I mean? Behind a not so great offensive line.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like some teams we have to kind of not consider with everybody else, because they are, just as they're outlier players, they're outlier teams where you pretty much put anyone in there and they're productive. But Jordan Mason, I don't know. You look at him, and he was a backup at Georgia Tech for a little while, right? But this is a guy who's 5'11", 223 with burst, right? So he's got the size, he's got the athleticism, and you coach him up within the system where he's been now for a few years now even. I feel like the athleticism is not the question. That's usually where these guys are down the board, right? It's guys without the top tier athleticism, but he's got some pretty elite burst, I would say. So I don't know. I feel like this is a guy who, he's, undrafted or whatever, but he has a talent that says that he could have been a top pick if he had get the playtime in college. I don't know.
Yeah, like the running back, like we talk about with the quarterback and the processing and the mental prospect of it. Like the running back feels similar if like in a lot of the zone read systems, like watching Najee, who is a pretty athletic guy, really well built. Like you see his off season like muscle pictures, you're like holy Nikes. That's like a Greek god right there. And then like I watch him during games, and Arthur Smith's turned over to the zone read type of offense where he's like a kid on a Madden holding right trigger down and just going as fast as he can at the line of scrimmage, and like he runs into traffic, and you're like, what? Like the difference between him and like Le'Veon Bell in a similar type read situation is crazy. You're watching Cordarrelle Patterson get in for like 5 plays and run the ball super effectively before getting injured a couple games ago. It's like the mental processing behind the running back position, and that's maybe why like guys later in the draft are better at that, but it's hard to determine that from the college film and how good they are at reading the holes and picking up the yardage that's there versus bouncing, that kind of stuff. So like that's why you see Kyren Williams, like even though he's not athletic at all, and I know how much you dislike his abilities, perform extremely well for the Rams because of the mental processing and the little bit. He does have a bit of burst, but that's kind of similar. It's part of the gig. All right, on to the Eagles. Eagles are getting healthy with their best 2 receivers. I'm going to put them in the playoffs. What do you think about that?
Yeah, there's too much talent. I think they're pretty poorly coached at the top, and I think that hurts them a lot. But, I mean, there is no way they should have lost to the Falcons. There's just no way. That is an unlosable game, and Nick Sirianni found a way to lose it. It was the passing on 3rd down. And I know it's like, well, it was the right move because it was open. You don't take the chance. If you guys remember that, it was 3rd and short near the end of the game. There was about 1:40 to go. There were no timeouts were in play. So you could have taken 40 seconds off the clock to bring it to a minute. And guess what? When you have one of the best offensive lines in the league on 3rd and short, you don't need to do a play action pass to the flat. You can run the ball and still have a pretty good chance of picking up the 1st down. And you take half of the time left in the entire game off the clock. It was so stupid to pass the ball because guess what? You can drop it. Keep the clock moving. You definitely win the game. Because you still could have picked up the 1st down on the ground. It was so dumb.
They were running so well that drive too.
I know. It was so stupid. But they're very talented. I think they'll make the playoffs.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. All right, the Raiders. Are we going to put them in mediocre at best? Is this our first mediocre at best squad?
Yeah, I think that the lack of the quarterback and the defense is really bad. They found a way to win a couple of games here, but, I mean, that is not an inspiring team.
Yeah.
I think they'll be picking in the top 10 for sure.
It feels that way. Are you an AOC guy?
No. I'm not a Gardner Minshew guy either, though.
Okay. I was trying to trap you into a political take.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Hey, so, yeah, both quarterbacks are very similar, like replacement level talents, it feels like. And that's just so tough to overcome. Now they're talking about trades. Like, I don't know. Okay, the national media is saying some stuff about how they should trade Max Crosby. Didn't he say something about having like the Raiders tattooed on his body? Would that be like the ultimate betrayal?
I hadn't heard that at all. I've heard the Devontae Adams stuff, but not Max Crosby. Yeah, that would be suicide. Also, that's like such a leader in the locker room as well.
Yeah.
From all the reports. I mean, I'm not in there, but I've heard it. So I feel like that's a good way to incite a riot within your team.
Oh yeah. There's gonna be buses from Oakland to Vegas just to burn the place down if they get rid of Crosby.
It would be chaos.
Green Bay Packers. I am going to put them in the playoff teams. And what's going on with this Dobbs situation?
It's a non-factor all of a sudden. I don't know. They have a lot of mouths to feed. They've got a good receiving core. And I don't know. I feel like, is Romeo Dobbs good enough that you force him the football? I don't think he is. I like him. I think he's a good player. I think he's probably in a vacuum better than Dontavian Wicks or Bo Melton. But, I don't know why he's acting like he's a bona fide wide receiver one. Jaden Reed is a special talent of that group. I mean, for sure.
You see the manufactured touches.
That's the guy who could say it.
Yeah, Jaden. Like, it does feel like they have like a whole bunch of number twos in Green Bay with like the alpha Devontae Adams that they used to have. So that's nice for a scheme though, because like you don't have to like, except for the times where they're like, hey, feed me more. Like I hate you. Like unless they have the attitude of a 1 but the talent of a 2, then you have problems, right? Like what Freddie Mitchell style. But like, Green Bay, I think like I like their offensive line. I like their quarterback. I like their running situation. They got a couple good backs there. Wilson's looking better than I thought he would. Their wide receiver cores are nice. The issue I think in Green Bay has been their issue for like the last 10 years. Can they stop the run? Because it doesn't feel like they can. And that's all I got to say about that. And so I'm going to put them in the playoff. Washington. I want to see them against better teams. I want to say their playoff team with how well they're playing and Daniels is growing. I'm going to get them a potential wild card. What do you think?
I actually think that's fair. I mean, their offense is lighting it up. Again, they haven't played anyone especially good. And their defense hasn't really been all that good. I mean, they've allowed 115 points so far in 5 games, and that's about on par with the Cowboys, who we've critiqued their defense the entire year. Like, it could be worse, right? But it's certainly not near elite. So I feel like this is a team. It wouldn't surprise me to see them go on a run of losing games here at some point. Now, that being said, though, they do play the Ravens, Panthers, Bears, Giants over their next 4, and you could pick a couple of wins there pretty comfortably.
Yeah.
And then you have the Steelers, Eagles, Cowboys, Titans. Like, the schedule says playoff team, in my opinion, based on the way they're playing so far. But they also could just be on a great run to start the year right now. They only beat the Bengals by a few points, only beat the Giants by a field goal. I don't know. I don't think this is a special team like they are with their 4-1 record, but I think they're fringe playoff team because of their record. But I need to see more of this team for sure.
They're a Christina Aguilera team. Their schedules, their talent saying no, but their schedule's saying let's go.
There you go.
So they are a genie in a bottle. The Steelers. Okay, I think the Steelers. I want to see what Russ has. Fields missing reads. Fields missing throws. It's pissing me off. They're leaning a lot into his legs, and they're just driving him right into 250-pound linebackers and stuff. I feel like if they continue with the game plan they had yesterday against the Cowboys, and a lot of their first downs are pulls and then just dives at linebackers, I feel like Fields is going down. So that means Russ is starting for you regardless here. He won't be starting this week, they said, but going forward, potentially he'll probably take the reins at some points because it's tough because Fields is playing Steeler football, right? He is. Oh, to be fair, now we're getting the Fields fumbles every week now, so it's back to Bears season for that. I just think their offensive scheme, they're running. They changed it year over year. They stack the box a lot with a bunch of tight ends, or they got Van Jefferson trying to lead block and stuff, and it's just not what he's good at, not anything at all. And so the fact that they're running to a stacked box with a running back that doesn't like to read with their offensive lineman push, he just likes to charge in. It feels like it's early season last year with Matt Canada again, before even he realized that about week 8, week 9, maybe we need to spread it out. Maybe we need to run a little bit more power gap type concepts over these just zone runs where our offensive line isn't as good at, especially with Fatano gone basically for the whole year, where he would have been a great runner, that style. So they lost their best offensive lineman, Sam Oliver, the first few weeks. Now he's back. Then they lost James Daniel, who PFF had as rated their best offensive lineman. That's tough. But Frazier, he's been playing really well at center, the right guard. Like, overall, their line looks good except for Broderick Jones. He looks like he needs to get cut. He is tragic on a weekly basis. They have no great receivers if Pickens is only going to get half an effort like he did against the Cowboys. So their offense has just got a whole bunch of question marks from caller on down to every position, except for maybe like their young studs. Dan Moore all of a sudden is playing well at left tackle. I wouldn't say well. I'd say he's playing adequate, league average, which is a step up. Their defense, though, losing Highsmith and Herbig is insanely valuable. Now TJ's going to get chipped every week, and I think like whether it's Austin, like I don't understand why they don't like take advantage of the chips on TJ every single down. Like, you got a blitz behind that. Learn some Flores. Steelers, like, send a blitz so that way if they chip and dedicate a tackle to him, you got a free rusher. I saw them do it once this whole year in the free rusher. It was a rusher, it was a blitz through that B gap, and he got a free shot at the quarterback. And I was like, okay, do this more. If they're gonna double TJ, blitz right there, make them pay for it. And I saw it freaking once this whole season they've done this. So it makes no sense to me why they're so poorly coached, poorly schemed. These freaking zone drop, easy to pick apart zones by Dak has been an embarrassment. The fact that they can't run match is weird. The fact that they cut Darius Rush for Beanie Bishop or whoever else on their team, and like Beanie Bishop can't run man because he's terrible at coverage. And so like he was picked on the whole game too, smartly. Like, every shit on McCarthy, but he called a good game. Like, hey, Beanie Bishop's the weak link. Let's destroy this guy, and they did. So overall, very, very, like, a lot of question marks, a lot of problems with the Steelers, but I'm gonna go potential wild card for them, as I don't know if they're gonna get solved because these are the same issues we saw last year. Any additions?
Offense sucks, defense doesn't. I don't know what to expect from this team. I mean, you could sell me on this one or the one below it.
Yeah, let's smelt. Okay, Buffalo. Does Josh Allen know where he is right now?
I saw a funny bit with the old, I forget who it was at the XFL, where he's like, I got two questions. He's like, one, is this the XFL? Yes, it is. And he's like, is my heart still beating? It is. Let's play football. And it's like, that's going to be Josh Allen. Just fucking go out there. Doesn't need to know about anything but playing football. I would say that, they're a playoff team. They're good.
Yeah, I agree. Anytime if Allen, like,
however,
I hope they sit him a little bit. I don't know. I want. It feels like people were saying that he was concussed even the previous week a little bit, but like they've been trying to hide it and whatnot, just so he can keep playing football. And I don't know why they signed Trubisky to be a backup quarterback. That guy's a disaster. I mean, he's a nice guy, but like, yeah, if they start Trubisky, those are auto L's. We saw it last year for the Steelers. So hopefully Allen can stay healthy.
I mean, you can say that about like any backup quarterback. You got to have one.
Yeah.
But I would say that like the Bills definitely have a wide receiver problem. I know they don't have any money, but they should go out and try to get a receiver. Like, get Amari Cooper from Cleveland, get Devontae Adams from Las Vegas, whichever one you can swing. Maybe it means, the team you're trading for or trading with takes on a lot of that contract and you give them a more valuable pick. But like, the Bills could be a Super Bowl contender if they could get a receiver in there on the outside. So I think they're legit. They're not playing up to it right now. Like, they got blown out by the Ravens. They easily could have beat the Texans. And they blew out the Dolphins, blew out the Jags.
Yeah.
Those are not especially impressive wins, given what we know about those Florida teams at this point. But the Bills could be a Super Bowl contender, but I don't think they're quite there right now.
Yeah, because it was surprising in the offseason. Everybody thought the Bills were washed because they lost so much, talent that they've had in their squad. But I'm like, they got Josh Allen. And whenever you got Josh Allen, and whenever you got that position, which I feel like quarterback is 40% of the sport, you're going to be in contention. So I generally agree with you on your points there. All right, the Falcons. Now, you say that they should be losing. They're winning. I'm going to put them, like, are they division favorites?
Are they?
I mean, who would you have over them?
I think Tampa might be a slightly better team.
Okay.
But I think they're close enough where I wouldn't like be mad either way. Yeah. And I do think, I think the Saints are right up there. I think give me a 3-way tie for division favorite, which is not how that works at all when there are only 4 teams. But did anyone disagree with that? If the Saints won the division, would it be that surprising? Same thing with Atlanta or Tampa. I think they're all kind of the same.
I think I like Atlanta's talent the most of all those squads, just because. Okay, they have.
I like the Saints coaching the most.
Fair. I mean, but when you look like let's
Clint
break
Kubiak,
down.
He's gonna be head coach next year.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, he's shown that he's got that it factor much more than I feel like Canales did for Tampa, but he's still got a coaching spot. But regardless, going through the Falcons position by position, like their only weakness I feel like is defensive line ish, and like so maybe stopping the run's a problem, but they got great safety play. They got Terrell at corner, who's very good. They got, linebackers are I guess. Defensive line could be a little better as far as pressure. But, like, offensive line, I love their set. Well, okay. Is Dahlman hurt? I don't know. Lindstrom's, like, the best guard in the NFL, just about. Solid tackle play when it's not great on the right side. They got playmakers at running back, one of the most talented in the NFL. Wide receiver, London, and then Pitts at tight end. And then they like... Cousins his ability to distribute the ball. Now we just saw him go off. Now he feels like he's back almost. I kind of like the team. Am I wrong?
I mean, they have on paper they have name value, right?
Yeah.
But I would challenge. Okay, why are they not scoring more points if their offense has all these great players, and why are they allowing so many points if their defense has only a problem on the defensive line?
Because we all know it's one in the trenches.
That's true, to be fair. I don't really love their corners. I mean, they have one that I think is awesome.
Yeah.
And then they have some others I'm not too fond about on the outside. I like Clark Phillips in the slot. They actually have one of the more underrated slot corners in the league that no one ever really talks about. Like people talk about, right, like Kenny Moore as one of the best slot corners in the league. They talk about, Marlon Humphrey sometimes as one of the best slot corners in the league. But D. Alford is a really, really good slot corner that doesn't really get any love. But you can only have so many slot corners, right? You got to have somebody that can actually be that guy on the outside. And do we trust Mike Hughes to be that guy? Not really. I don't believe in the defense as much.
That's fair.
And I just think they've got, it's the same thing with, like, I hate to shit on Kyle Pitts, but it's like the Falcons have the name value, but they're not performing the way everyone expects that name value to perform.
I mean, Bates.
So I think the Falcons, I wouldn't elevate them over the Saints or the Bucs. I think they're all pretty similar.
It's tough to have all their division and potential wild cards because somebody has to make the playoffs as the division winner, but we'll leave them all there for now. All right, the Seahawks. I know how much you really do like the Seahawks and you believe in them. Sell me on the Seahawks.
When healthy, they are a really, really talented team. Their O-line got a little bit worse in the offseason, right? But the Geno Smith we're seeing in 2024, it's kind of like if you were going to equate it to college football, you got to forget about Bo Nix at Auburn. You got to take how good he is at Oregon, and that's the guy, in the college football landscape, not about prospect or anything.
I get you.
But then with like, you got to forget about Geno with the Jets. You got to forget about him even with the Giants. Geno Smith now is a fringe top 10 quarterback, which seems crazy. Maybe the quarterback position's not that strong, but Geno's quite good. They've got one of the better running backs in the league, one of the better running back duos in the league with Zach Charbonnet. And then the receiving core is about as good as it gets with DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and Jackson Smith and Jigba. And then defensively, oh my God, dude. The pass rush, when healthy, is unbelievable right now with all these guys taking steps up. You have, Derek Hall is on the outside looking in, but a healthy Boye Mafe is a freak now. He is a really, really talented young player. I think he was a rookie last year. They have, again, one of the better slot corners in the league. Devin Witherspoon is a beast. They have some pretty good corners overall with Tariq Woolen. this is a super talented team, and I think they're worth the hype. They lose to the Giants. I don't know what happened there. Like that was a crazy bad game that they played, but I think this is actually a pretty solid team.
Did you see that one play where Jackson Smith and Jigba was like, he was running on the field. He looked back and what's that?
Like when he ran off the DBs.
Yeah.
On the Geno Smith scramble. Yeah.
You blew
savvy.
You blew me. You blew my story.
Sorry.
Cool.
Sorry.
Yeah. You saw it, but it was more like, the royal did you see for like the audience almost. He was like
I'm not a professional.
He looked back. He saw Geno was scrambling, and then he like threw up his hand, and he kept running down the field, and the two defensive backs were still chasing him like after seconds after Geno had taken off, and he just created like 40 yards of separation. It was almost like runoff elite in Madden, just about how effective. So that was smart football. And that's something you got to point to on film is like, hey, this is how we need our receivers to play. Like that was like teach tape right there. That was incredibly heads up, incredibly great awareness from him. So like, it was so funny because in the offseason, I don't want to, go back to the Bears too much, but you saw like his damning comments about their offensive coordinator, and they're like, yeah, he was in so many words, he was like, he's trash. And they brought in a new one out of Washington, so there's a reason why they're looking good, right? When you have talent at that spot and Geno's looking good, like how much can you separate the wide receiver talent from the quarterback talent?
I think Geno makes good decisions. For the most part, and he's accurate. So I would say that, that in a vacuum plays, and having the great receivers you can count on helps. Like Lockett is as reliable as they come. DK is a huge big play threat. And then JSN's another guy that can work the middle of the field. And he's great after the catch.
What do you think about Lockett being a coward and always going down when he catches the ball?
Way he should be out of the league. Toughen up. What do you mean? What's crazy is I remember I was watching a Chargers game years ago, maybe like 2015, 2016, something in that range. Could have been even maybe a year before. And Malcolm Floyd, I think, kept doing that. Kept catching the ball and immediately going down. I complained to my dad. I'm like, this guy's not fighting for any extra yards. And then he finally didn't, and he got rocked, and he had to get carted off the field. And I was silent for the rest of the game. I was like, all right, maybe he can go down. So I'm not going to say anything about Tyler Lockett. I've learned my lesson.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great story. Oh, man. Like, all right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and shut up now. I'll move on with my life. There's a reason why they do that. Yeah, there's a reason why Lockett is so old and still effective in the NFL, not taking that wear and tear. Because, I feel like as you grow old, you might lose a step, but you gain your smarts about you. And most people have to retire due to injuries in the NFL more than anything else, not being able to keep up and keep rehabbing with it. All right, the Patriots, I'm going to put them in number one pick contention. I think they are the worst team in the NFL. Now, I know you're a Drake May truther, as am I. I like him, but we'll see how he responds now, because they're starting to talk about
play this year.
What's that?
I hope he doesn't play this year.
I think I read something like coach is saying he's changed his tune a little bit, and May might get a little bit more. He might actually be into the game here soon.
Oh, that's a disaster situation. I mean, if you've watched any of that team, they've got no time. I mean, Jacoby Brissett has no chance.
Yeah. They are young but intriguing, I guess would be a good spot for them too, but if we had it, this is where I'd put my young but intriguing. I just their defense, they've got talent, but you lost maybe the greatest defensive coordinator or coach in history year over year. And then your offense is just from the years of bad drafts is like the cupboard's bare of talent. So I'm there. I hope Drake doesn't play a whole lot, but the problem is right now every fan is still happy in New England because they still have the potential, right? Like you got Drake May in the cupboard, so you have potential. Like if he starts and he doesn't look like Stroud last year or Daniels has so far this year, everybody's like, oh, it's doomed. Let's screw this guy. Let's move on. The entire fan base will kind of revolt then, right? Oh yeah, again they got the Texans coming up with their pass rush too. So it's not a great game if they're gonna start Drake May. We'll just say that. All right, Cleveland. I feel like
Sucks.
Cleveland with Watson is really bad, but if they go to the backup, if they go to Winston, they're better than this.
They can't. It's an ownership decision at the top. They're not gonna be able to bench Watson because it's like obviously it's such a bad look that they even signed him in the first place. Or traded for him and then signed him.
Yeah.
But you can't give him $240 million fully guaranteed and then turn to Jameis Winston. Like I know Stefanski wants to. They're not going to be allowed to.
Like, how close is Cleveland to Tanya Hardying this guy?
I think they tried to do it with that story coming about Watson with the the grape. What can I say?
What?
You know what I mean?
No. Wait, what?
There's a story that came out like a few weeks ago about intricate details of a Watson encounter with a lady in her apartment.
Yeah.
I don't think it was a mystery about how that leaked at that time.
They're trying to get out of his contract.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that would be a decent strategy. And that obviously hasn't played out yet. But the crazy thing is, like, I don't want Cleveland, obviously as a rival, to get out of the contract. I want them to be punished for their bad ideas, bad job. But then, like, I also don't want Deshaun Watson to make all that money that he's making. So it's like a catch-22 between, like, a bad and a worse thing. Like, what's the devil you deal with? Oh, it was settled. It was settled yesterday, says Joe Bamba. Oh, it was settled.
Oh.
Okay. How was it settled, Joe? Interesting.
Probably money.
So, like, that's going to be nothing, apparently. All right. The Texans. Well coached. Are we going to put them in playoff team?
Yeah. I don't know that they're a true Super Bowl contender. It wouldn't shock me to see them make a run. But I think playoff team is fair.
Yeah.
And maybe even at the top of that. I think they're on par with the Bills. They just barely beat the Bills. They're really good. But I think playoff teams is fair. Now, I don't know that I necessarily think teams like the Seahawks and Eagles and the Packers are in the same level as the Texans and Bills. But I think that the Texans are quite good.
The problem is, like, the Texans are going to have to run through what we consider some of the best teams in the league. I know we have
exactly
NFC teams, so, like, it's a little harder to say. Yeah, they're going to have to beat some very quality competition to make it through the AFC. Because you said your opinions about the NFC earlier, and I tend to agree. So it's a little different. It's like
I think they're right there with Buffalo.
Yeah. So I think keeping them as playoff team, and we'll move on. Kansas City, they look ugly, but they win. Right, like they are
every year.
Yeah, it just somehow happens. Whether it's coaching, whether it's just the Mahomes magic, and they got maybe we'll find out in 15 years that instead of deflating balls, they're like inflating their helmets. I don't know, or like I don't know how they're getting extra sticky stuff. I don't know. I'm waiting for the next cheating meta to come out to point it right at Kansas City. How can we describe their magic?
Mahomie, or whatever Tony Romo says, it's a little Mahomie. They just find a way.
Yeah.
I mean, you cannot count out this team. I don't care if Mahomes is playing badly or not. They're when the playoffs are here, how do you pick anyone but Kansas City?
It's tough, right? They have a dominant defensive lineman. They have good linebacker play, great secondary play, and then like their offensive line looks good. The only spot you could argue that they're not good at is wide receiver, but that's why their offense looks terrible.
Yeah, and Travis Kelce's 35 years old.
Yeah,
I think he's maybe finally looking 35.
Come the playoffs, is Travis Kelce going to look bad? I'm sure he's not. I'm sure he's going to look amazing.
That's the Swift magic for you. The national television, like the refs know it. They all want to get autographs after the game. No. All right, Dallas. Dallas just fought through an incredible Steeler team, one of the greatest ever, but they won. I still think they're in a rough spot. Parsons will be coming back here soon to help out their rush. I'm gonna go potential wild card, but I don't think I can go much more. I mean, I know is McCarthy one of the most like controversial coaches in the NFL? Because
what does he even do? What does he do?
Exactly.
He stinks.
Like, is it just their talent winning games for them? Because like I've heard a lot of trash talk about Dak over the years, just like I've heard a lot of trash talk about Tua, and then all of a sudden without Tua, the Dolphins they look like a shell of themselves on offense. So the same thing with Dak. Like everybody likes to crap on Dak for obviously like the old running too far when they need to clock the ball. Like he's had some major issues, and especially in big moments over the years. They got blown out last year, but in the playoffs. But I don't know. I really don't know McCarthy. He has won a big one, but clock management problems, a lot of the same things that he's been criticized over the years from Green Bay. Now it's still there in Dallas, but Jerry seems to like him. I'm surprised he hasn't gotten let go because of his inability to play well in the playoffs. I don't know. Dallas they're like a good coach, but they're also not.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Fair enough. Potential wild card we'll put on Dallas. All right, so the Chargers. Oh, man, losing their tackles. They lost them. Herbert, he's good, but he's been dealing with injuries all year. It's tough to see such a beat-up squad. I think Mac is still back. Bosa's always injured. He's tough to say. I'm going to put the Chargers at mediocre at best, but I kind of want to just put them in the missing playoff teams portion.
I think you got to put them up to at least missing playoffs. Like their defense has played really well. Their offense is bizarre. I mean, they don't really have much of one. They definitely are weird and bad, but their defense has played really well. I don't know. I feel like they might be able to find it a bit and miss the playoffs.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's tough to say. Early in the year, and especially losing like most of their talent, how good they truly are if they can get together. The problem with the Chargers, like it feels like every year they're hurt. Why is it some teams just have like doctors out here puncturing lungs, like guys spending like an insane amount of talent on an insane amount of time on the injury report, and other teams feel like Kansas City always seems relatively healthy, right? Like they go into Super Bowls, like maybe one guy's out on their roster, and so like. Some of it feels like luck, but some of it feels like just like over such a large sample size, a skill.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know.
Yeah. All right.
Unlucky. Cursed.
Yeah, it feels that. The Jets getting rid of Saleh, we kind of talked about that. Mediocre at best, or are we going to pump them up to missing playoff teams or potential wild cards if Rodgers can get back on track?
I think they're definitely better than mediocre at best. I think the Jets, with that great defense, are going to continue to find ways to be in games. And then if the offense can just look functional for just 60 minutes, maybe even 45, they're going to find a way to luck into a few wins. I think they could be a playoff team. They could be, but something's got to change. And I don't know if it means going out and getting Devontae Adams, if he's even traded at all, which it feels like he would be, right? It feels like that's going to happen. He goes to the Jets. I feel, like this team could absolutely make the playoffs. And it seems like, you're never one player away. But Devontae Adams would do a lot for this offense, especially when we've seen what he's done with Aaron Rodgers before. And the defense is so good. So I feel like the Jets are definitely in the missing playoff tier at the moment. But they could be a wild card team.
No,
but the AFC East is is weird. They could be in first place next if they beat the Bills, just so you know. So it feels like, wow, we're talking about a team that just fired their head coach this morning that wins their next game and is in first place in their division.
You know what? You sold me. Buy low on the Jets. Stonks. And I think the issue is...
No, they stink. They definitely stink. I wanted that to be clear.
The issue isn't the talent. It feels like Rodgers likes his static offense. He, modern day pressure. We talked about that with the disguise coverages and floors and stuff earlier. And it feels like the Jets are just a couple schematic changes. Like if they get Adams and Rodgers can hot route Adams with whatever random hand signal he has, and they just can convert all these clutch third downs with whatever magic they have together. I feel you're right. I definitely absolutely agree. The issue is does this scheme work? Because it feels like Mike Williams is fine. Sure, he's not top tier, but he's made some plays over the years, some incredible catches and whatnot. So the issue is right now the scheme, and it doesn't seem to be clicking. And a lot of that has to do with Rodgers, just skipping off-season stuff, right? He's out here in the darkness, and he finally is maybe coming towards it mid-season, maybe firing the coach. Rodgers didn't like him. It's a wake-up call to the offense. We'll see. Sometimes teams rally around that. So I don't know. We'll leave it at potential wildcards. Why not? Let's buy low on the Jets. I like it. Panthers stink.
Pretty bad.
Are we gonna put them in
pretty bad?
Are we gonna put them in mediocre or number one pick contention?
They look better with Dalton, right? But this is still a team that's allowed more points than anybody by a mile. I would say number one pick contention is extremely fair.
Yeah. Titans, mediocre at best. I'm okay with that ranking too.
Yeah. I think that's fair.
Levis is weird. I feel like he's good. He's got a professional level arm. But there's so many growing pains, right? You've gotten 50 million likes on just putting out screenshots of Will Levis and the memes that he's been.
All of my top tweets all time now are Will Levis in some way, shape, or form.
For good purpose. So when it's clutch time, Will Levis just decides to do his finest Bugs Bunny impression. All right, Colts. I'm gonna put a missing playoff team. We'll see. Richardson is just such a he can either take over a game or completely cost you the game with his inaccuracy, short and medium. But man, just he's a lot like Kyler, just the incredible highlight top 10 plays you'll see out of him makes him just so exciting to watch. But I feel like the Colts are kind of missing that key ingredient, and I feel like Richardson still needs at least a year. Richardson is who his scouting profile said he was. And so that's tough, and maybe Flacco provides a steady hand, and they just all right, Richardson, stay back and learn, but I'm not sure they can do that now. And the rest of the roster has got it's all right. I mean, it beat the Steelers, right? And I got the Steelers up a tier. Chat saying Drake May is starting. He's officially been named, huh, Tony? So it is Drake May season against the Texans. Breaking news, huh? Wild. I know you spoke about how much of a disaster this is going to be, but maybe Drake, maybe he gets the ball out quicker. Maybe he just decides to not pull a Brady. Even when he struggled with the offensive line, he still got the ball out within 2 seconds. So literally, if was no offensive line, they wouldn't have enough time to get to him anyways.
Nothing like a rookie quarterback making his first career start against one of the scariest pass rushes in the league.
Great timing for him. This reminds me of when Kenny Pickett got brought into a game at halftime and immediately got the most destructive teams on their entire schedule 4 weeks in a row. And then we saw how well his development played out.
They have the Jaguars on the schedule next week. You couldn't just wait a week.
Yeah. That's tough one. Talk on the Jags now. Where do you see them at? Is T-Law just cooked?
He hasn't played well this year, which I think he didn't play as poorly as people want to talk like he did last year. He was really not as bad, but so many drops. And the offensive line wasn't great, but I mean, AR, has this potential we talked about with the Colts that he hasn't really fully realized yet. But I think Trevor Lawrence has, but he hasn't been as productive, leading people to think that he's just another top quarterback bust. And then, of course, he comes out yesterday and he goes 28 of 34 through the air for 371 and 2 touchdowns. Did throw an interception in that game. But, I mean, he was excellent. His receivers are getting open and catching the football, and this is the type of player he can be. And I also think Brian Thomas Jr. is an absolute stud.
Yeah.
I like Trevor Lawrence a lot. That defense is brutally bad. I don't know how they're as bad as they've been. They are really, really, really bad. And I think Doug Peterson might not make it through until their bye week. Like that's he could absolutely be gone before that. They're terrible. They maybe already had their bye. I don't know. I can't find it. Oh, their bye week is the end of November. Yeah, I don't think he makes it that far. He's gonna get fired, or he should probably.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, no, that's a good tier list. Any changes you'd have? I mean, like, how many people do we have? Playoff teams 1, 5, plus 5, 10, and then potential wild cards. We got 8 teams there, so we're pretty close to the playoffs.
If you look at the way a tier list should go, it should be skinny at the top and work towards the thickness in the middle, and then back skinny at the bottom. And I think we have it. Actually, it's almost perfectly symmetrical.
Wow. Maybe we just know ball.
So
we got the Maryland Monroe.
I mean, I don't know if we have the teams in the right spots, but
yeah, we got
that hourglass figure tier list.
Look at us, so sexy. Well, hey, appreciate you, Bengal, coming on and chatting about it. Hey, can I get a shout out to Bengal?
Shout out to Bengal. Hell yeah, buddy.
Oh yeah.
Huh?
Love you, Bengal.
Good luck on Madden today. That game's so fun.
I see you said that with a lot of enthusiasm in your voice.
I am an EA partner. I have to go.